So the Christmas pudding, I just think it can't be done without. I might not be its biggest fan, if I'm honest with you, but if you don't have it at Christmas, there's certainly family that will miss it. So what we need to do first for a traditional Christmas pudding is just soak our fruit. So we've gone into a bowl just with our raisins, our glassy cherries that I've just cut in half and quarter, depending on the size of them. And also then on that, we're going to add in our mixed peel, and that's key, it's essential, just for lots of flavour. So we'll give that a bit of a mix in and around there in a bowl. Now these are going to have to soak for around about 2 hours or so, and I'm going to soak them in some stout. So we're lucky, we've got good Donegal stout going on here with a bit of an espresso in there, which certainly adds to it as well. I'm going to pour the whole bottle in just to that bubbles up. Doesn't that look lovely? Oh yeah. And if you're asking or worrying about other alcohol going in, we'll add that, and we can add that at the end or afterwards just to preserve it. But once that is settled, stop bubbling. We're just going to cover that. Okay, and I'm going to add the apples, which are chopped. I almost forgot them there. Just seen them sitting at the side and was thinking, okay, we need to add those apples. They're there for a reason. And now pushing that down in just to make sure that the apples get coated to stop them from going brown. And you'll see now there's just about enough stout to cover that. And give that about 2 hours to soak and just to open up the fruit that's in there. That has soaked, so you'll see it's filled up. It's basically taken in the stout, but it's got really, really plump. So at least 2 hours. If you can do it overnight, by all means, do that. So now in the meantime, what we're going to do is we're going to cream together our butter and our sugar. So it's a dark brown sugar, and that's very, very deliberate. It gives a real sort of caramel richness to it. And we're just going to mix that together. Okay, so that has creamed together enough, and I'm going to add some free-range eggs to this. So just straight in, one at a time. So as you add one, just mix it a little bit further each time. Okay, so that is enough, and that's the end of your mixer. No, you're not licking them. We'll put them to the side, and now we're going to go straight in with our flour and our spices. And again, anytime you have an opportunity with flour to sieve it, by all means do. It just lightens it up. And some nutmeg through the flour. And then of course cinnamon, which is just one of those Christmas spices, isn't it? That we just could not do without. But it's important that that gets mixed just through the flour at this stage. There we go. That is more than enough. And we give that a final shake. And that is all of that gone in. And then we're just going to fold that in lightly. Now it looks a little bit sort of split as a mix, but don't worry about that. That's exactly where you need to be at this stage. And there we go. That'll come together with the flour. And now we're going to add some breadcrumb, which is going to help to dry that up. And once the breadcrumb goes in, I'm going to add in the zest of an orange. So see how that has dried itself up and came into just a lovely light mix, folding around all the time. And then the zest of one whole orange is going to go in there. Okay, so that is the orange. Beautiful smell now. The zest of that gone in. Just work that through gently, and that makes sure that gets distributed in the main mix that's going to cook out here. And that is beginning, I can tell you, to smell a little bit Christmassy with the cinnamon, the orange, and now with the nice stout that we have soaked our fruit in. So we're going to pour all of this just directly in on top of our mix and bring it all together. And again, just continue to fold and work that in so that all of that fruit gets in through the mix. And it's meant to be nice and moist at this stage. And this is the stage when I am tempted to add in a bit of booze. So we're lucky because I'm going to add in a bit of silky whiskey to this. And now that will evaporate off as well as it's in the cooking process and just leave behind a lovely smooth flavour. So not just the most pretty mix at the minute, but that's very, very deliberate. You'll see how this will end up gorgeous when all the sugars start to work together with the butter the eggs, the flour and all that lovely boozy fruit. So that is now ready to prepare our pudding basin tins. Okay, so that is us ready. So I have two basins. These are just called some pudding basins that I'm going to equally spread this mix into both of them. I'll just get a spoon for that. Yeah, that is that spread perfectly. We're going to take a sheet which I've cut out a disc of parchment paper, and don't put too much pressure on that. Just sit it down in direct contact with the mix, and our purpose lids, which will go on there nice and tight. Now I'm going to do this in a tray. You can do this in a pot if you wish. Just half fill the pot and simmer it with a lid on. Now that's nice and tight. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to half fill this tray with some hot water. Now that should be enough water. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to put a bit of cling film firstly onto this. There we go. And that's going to help hold them in their shape as well. It's going to keep some of the steam in because we're going to have tin foil over that. So just tighten. There we go. And tightly put tin foil over the top of that, making sure that it's right down in on the tin like so. And we're going to tighten that up. Perfect. I'm going to do one bit of tin foil across this way as well, and that's, look at how tight that's getting. Now that is going to create a steamer basically for you at home, and we're going to place that into the oven. And the oven's down nice and low, okay, so we're just looking for it really just to keep that nice and warm and to continue to heat the water. So it's at about 140 degrees the oven, and that's going to take about 3 hours. Okay, so that has had 3 very good slow hours in there. And you can see that the steam is still captured within. Look at that. It's just simply the best homemade steamer that you can get. Just be careful releasing that. It's like taking off the lid of a pot. And let's get our first look. Oh yeah. Yep, and there's a nice spring to that, but it smells honestly absolutely beautiful. So what we will do is we'll take one out and just dry the bottom of it. And I'm going to remove that greaseproof just to make sure. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with that. Now see how that's all come together beautifully. Now I'm going to keep that on there just for a second. And using a palette knife, we're just going to slowly release that from there. And then it's going to be a very quick turnout. And this is when you pray that this is going to slip away. And it does. Look at that. Doesn't that look gorgeous? And it smells amazing. And again, I would just put a wee bit of holly on that when you're about to serve it. But of course, let it cool down. Completely cool down. And then on the day when you're going to use it, a splash of whiskey. So I'm going to use a silky whiskey. It's just gorgeous with it. And even now when it's warm, you can actually add a little sort of dram of whiskey just in over the top of it. Look, it'll just soak in. I'm laughing because plum pudding without a good bit of booze going into it is not really a good rich Christmas pudding. So there you have it. Isn't that just a gorgeous, beautiful recipe with all those fruits coming together? And I have a second one. Now I can cut that up and give wedges of that away. It makes a lovely Christmas present for you if you do that as well. So enjoy that and have a go at that recipe.